I spent 20 years saving for my dream home. And when I finally came back to see it, someone else was living in it. My name is Lena. And for nearly 2 decades I lived in the city, working nonstop, saving every dollar I could. I had one dream: to come back home and retire in a small, peaceful house on my family's land. Nothing fancy. Just quiet. Just mine. And I trusted one person to make that happen. My Aunt May. Every month I sent my hard-earned money back home to my Aunt May, the only family I'd ever truly trusted, with clear instructions: build me a modest home on our family's ancestral land. Year after year, she told me construction was going well. She sent updates, reassurances. I believed her. I never once thought to question it. Until the day I came back. I still remember the winding road back to my hometown. It felt like a journey through memory lane. Every turn brought back glimpses of my childhood, trees taller than I remembered and houses that had changed hands over the years. As the city skyline faded behind me, a thrill of excitement bubbled within me. For nearly 2 decades I had lived in the city, working tirelessly, saving every penny for one dream: retiring in the peaceful countryside of my youth. My excitement bubbled as I approached a familiar village, my car rattling over the uneven dirt road. The village hadn't changed much over the years. I was smiling the entire time. The closer I got to my family's property, the more I envisioned the house I had dreamed of. A cozy, modest cottage nestled in the trees, where I could live out my days on the property that had been in my family for generations in peace. Until I reached the property. Because the house I expected to see wasn't there. As I rounded the final corner and the land came into view, my heart skipped a beat. Instead of the humble home I envisioned, there before me stood a grand, sprawling mansion. Tall iron gates, manicured lawns, and polished stone walls. This was not the modest cottage I had dreamed of. I got out of the car slowly, my heart already racing. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the mansion in disbelief. It was the right land, that much I knew. It had been in my family for generations. Wait, whose house is this? Did someone else in the family also build on our land? And that's when the front door opened. Aunt May. Her face lit up as she saw me. Lena, you're finally here. I didn't smile back. I just stared at the house, then at her. Aunt May, whose house is this? She laughed lightly. Oh, Lena, don't be dramatic. This is your home. I built it for you. My stomach dropped. My hands shook as I stared at my aunt, disbelief and anger bubbling beneath the surface. No, I said, shaking my head. Her smile faltered for a moment before returning, too practiced and too breezy to quell my rising tension. Oh, Lena, darling, I know you're surprised, but this is the house I built. You said you wanted a home on the family land, and here it is. My heart sank as I shook my head, frustration boiling over. No, May. This isn't what I asked for. I sent you money for years to build my house. A small house. A simple one. I pointed at the mansion. This isn't mine. Her expression changed. Not guilt. Not even surprise. Annoyance. Oh, Lena, darling, I know you must be shocked. But this is the house I built. You said you wanted a house on the family land, and here it is. My heart sank as I tried to process my aunt's words. No. My voice rising in frustration. I sent you money for years to build me a house. A modest home. This, I pointed to the mansion. This isn't what I wanted. This is your house. Well, she said, crossing her arms, you weren't here, were you? I took care of the land, the construction, I handled everything. There's plenty of space. You can stay, of course. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a misunderstanding. I felt the sting of betrayal cut deep. You used my money, I said quietly. All of it. And you built this palace for yourself. How could you do this? I whispered, my voice breaking. Aunt May scoffed. I invested the money into something better. Something the family can be proud of. I did what I thought was best. If you can't appreciate that, maybe you've lost touch with your roots. I felt something inside me crack. You didn't just take my money, Aunt May. You took my future. I trusted you to build my home, not to fund your lifestyle. You betrayed me. Aunt May's voice hardened. You left. I stayed. You abandoned your roots. I kept the family's legacy alive. I deserve this more than you. That sentence changed everything. Her words struck me like a physical blow. I realized just how deeply I had been deceived. The betrayal wasn't just about the money. It was about my aunt's sense of entitlement. Her belief that my success in the city somehow made me less deserving of my own home. I felt my chest tighten with anger and hurt. You had no right, Aunt May, tears threatening to spill over. You had no right to steal from me. May's eyes flashed with irritation. I didn't steal anything, Lena. I used the money to build something beautiful, something the family can be proud of. If you can't see that, maybe you've been living in the city too long. I shook my head, heart heavy with disappointment. I had worked so hard, sacrificed so much, and for what? Maybe you're right, Aunt May, my voice steadying as I took a step back. Maybe I've been away too long. But I'm not going to let you get away with this. May scoffed, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. What are you going to do, Lena? To me? Drag your own family through the mud. I looked my aunt in the eyes, my resolve hardening. If that's what it takes. I looked at the house one more time. The house I paid for. The house that was never mine. And in that moment something shifted inside me. I wasn't walking away. But what I found out next made it even worse. For days I asked questions. Talked to neighbors. Old friends. Slowly, the truth started coming out. My aunt hadn't been hiding. She had been bragging. About the money I sent. About the house she was building. About her connections to the town's elite. My dream of a quiet retirement had been turned into nothing more than a tool for May's social climbing. Then someone reached out to me. My cousin David. We hadn't spoken in years. He left town years ago after a falling out with Aunt May. What he told me next made everything worse. When we met, he didn't waste time. You need to hear this, he said. And what he told me made my stomach turn. David had always dreamed of a comfortable home on our family's land, a place where he and his wife could raise their children in peace. David and his wife worked relentlessly. Aunt May, who had promised with such excitement that she was building a house for me, and she could do the same for them. She claimed it would be easier, even cheaper if she handled everything, thanks to her connections with all the local builders and suppliers. David and his wife had been sending money too. Years of savings, believing they were building their own home right next to mine. But there was no second house. There never was. She kept asking for more, he told me. Saying it wasn't enough. Saying your house was bigger, more expensive. They trusted her, just like I did. After years of endless promises and no tangible progress, they finally asked for their money back. She refused. Aunt May stood her ground, insisting that if they remained patient and continued to send money, their house would eventually be built. Unsure of what more to do, David and his wife eventually stopped sending money altogether. That's when they walked away. Nothing. I wasn't the only one she did this to. Silence filled the room as he finished talking. And in that moment, everything became clear. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a pattern. And she thought she'd get away with it. I looked at David. We're not letting her keep this, I said. And for the first time since I got back, I didn't feel helpless. I felt ready. Piece by piece, the truth came together. Bank statements, construction invoices, quiet testimonies from people who had watched it all happen. David had watched Aunt May do it before. Lie without blinking, charm without effort, manipulate without guilt. He always excused it, convinced himself it was just how she survived. But he was wrong. Because he never thought she'd cross that line. Not with family. Not with him. But this was on another level. It stopped being about a house, and I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't going to end quietly. The courtroom was silent when I walked in. And for the first time in my life, Aunt May wouldn't look at me. The evidence was overwhelming. Bank statements. Messages. Years of lies. Documented. But it was David's testimony that changed everything. David rose to testify, his voice steady yet laced with bitterness. He recounted the years of hard work that he and his wife had put in to save for their dream home. "We worked long hours for years. Every penny we saved was meant for the house we wanted to build on the family land," he explained. "May convinced us that it would be cheaper if we built the house at the same time as Lena's. She promised us that the savings would be significant. We trusted her," he said. "And she used that trust to take everything from us." You could feel the shift in the room. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs. The judge silenced the room with a sharp rap of his gavel, and David continued, detailing the broken promises and manipulation. He and his wife had been left with nothing while May had indulged in luxury. Whispers erupted through the courtroom. As David finished his testimony, my lawyer presented the evidence Lena had painstakingly collected: bank statements showing the vast sums of money she had sent to May, letters detailing the progress of the supposed construction of her house, and photos of the mansion that had been built instead. The correspondence showed the deliberate deceit, May's sweet coaxing words that had led Lena to believe her dream home was being built, while all the while, the money was funneled into May's lavish lifestyle. I sat stiffly as the prosecutor spoke. "It's clear that May Gibbons exploited her family's trust, deceiving both her niece and nephew for her own personal gain. She betrayed the people closest to her, using their hard-earned money to build a life of luxury while they were left with nothing." The tension coursing through the courtroom could be felt by all in attendance. People who once admired her now couldn't even look at Aunt May. And for the first time, May's once proud demeanor was cracked and worn. She avoided the eyes of the villagers seated behind her in the courtroom, people she had once flaunted her wealth to, people she had once been close to. They now looked at her with disgust. She looked small. Days passed. Arguments. Evidence. Truth after truth. Until finally, the verdict came. Guilty. Fraud. Embezzlement. Breach of trust. The mansion? It wasn't hers anymore. Standing there, I didn't feel victorious. The mansion, once a symbol of greed and betrayal, now belonged to the both of them, but neither of them wanted to live in it. The memories of what had been done in its name were too painful. We sold the mansion. Neither of us wanted it. It was never really a home. With the money, David and I started over. Built something real this time. Something honest. Not big. Not flashy. But ours. Homes that truly honored our heritage and the sacrifices we had made. The village, once divided by May's lies, had rallied behind Lena and David, and now that justice had been served, the healing could begin. But my aunt? Her connections to the elite had crumbled, and whispers of her deceit had spread far beyond the village, tarnishing her reputation and leaving her in isolation. In the end, Aunt May didn't go to jail, but she lost the life she'd built on deception. The house, the money, all her assets, gone, transferred to us as restitution. What she was left with was probation, community service, and a quiet, humbling existence above a laundromat, where she works just to get by. She became a warning. A story people told in hushed voices. Me. I thought losing everything would break me. But it didn't. David and I decided to work towards something better. Not just for ourselves, but for the legacy of our family. We take care of the land that had been passed down for generations, nurture it, and decide together how best to move forward. Together, we are forging a new future, grounded in trust and shared purpose, leaving behind the bitter legacy of May's selfishness. I reclaimed my life and built a future filled with dignity, love, and the comfort of home. And that is enough. Thank you for staying till the end. If this story pulled you in, hit like. Subscribe for more intense, real-life inspired audio stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next story.